my bicycle, I do. I'm not sure what was picked up then, but I was just singing a grand old song which was titled "I Like to Ride My Bicycle." I like to ride my bicycle, my bicycle. Anyway, yes, the Casanovians. Yes, the Casanovians. In this stream, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna teach you or stop giving a fuck. Right. So a question that I get asked quite a lot is, Christian, I love your content. Thanks. I'm struggling at the moment when it comes to worrying about what other people think of me. Yeah, I feel as though when it comes to approaching women, it's not just approaching women, it's actually becoming more socially free, yeah, more socially sovereign. So I can go after what I want rather than settling for what I think I can get. They might not put it into those words, but that's kind of what they're saying. How do you stop giving a fuck? Like, how do you do it? How do you stop giving a fuck? It's an interesting one because for a big portion of my life, I did give a fuck. I really did care. I cared about a lot of things. I used to be quite a fat child. I used to have moobs. I used to be addicted to porn. I used to have erectile dysfunction. I used to bring girls back to my grotty apartment in Leeds, and then my dick didn't work, and then I spent the rest of the evening crying into my heart-shaped pillow, looking on Reddit how to get over erectile dysfunction. I've been insecure about most things in my life. When I was addicted to porn, I used to watch these guys on screen with their gargantuan schlongs, and I would look at my little pecker and think, I'm never going to be able to satisfy a woman. What else was I insecure about? I used to be really insecure about my nose. So I was like, fuck me, that's a big pelican nose. I used to have really bad social anxiety to the point where I would break out into these weird sweating fits in the classroom when I got put on the spot to answer questions. That's why at 13 years old, I became a magician, right? So at 13 years old, with my little pecker, I walked around parks in the Lake District, approaching people to perform magic. And really, the biggest thing that I've learned in terms of how to actually stop giving a fuck, one of my favorite mantras is "Throw me in hell, I'll find a way to enjoy it." Yeah, throw me in hell, I'll find a way to enjoy it. No matter what happens, I'll deal with it. Yeah, so I feel as though a lot of times we get stressed because we're not dealing with the problems that are in front of us, and usually it's an avoidance mechanism, right? Avoidance amplifies anxiety, action alleviates it. So something that I've found to be super useful for me in terms of overcoming my fear of what other people think or just not giving a fuck in general is falling in love with the perceived worst case scenario. Okay, so let's say you want to go out there today and you want to approach some women because you're sick of dating apps, you don't want to go to nightclubs, and you don't want to try and get women through your social circle. So maybe you watch my videos and you're thinking, okay, I would like to walk out into my city centre and approach some women, but there's a big fat fucking problem. You're probably scared, right? You might be scared about the girl rejecting you. You might be scared about what bystanders are going to think if they see you approaching. You might be worried that your ego is going to get capitulated and it's going to make you feel sad and lonely. So there's a lot of thoughts which are going through your mind right now. And a lot of times it's the resistance to the worst case scenario or perceived worst case scenario that really fucks us over. So one of the mindsets that I use whenever I feel scared, whenever I'm doubting myself, whenever I realize I'm allocating too many fucks to a specific thing, I just fall in love with the perceived worst case scenario. So maybe for you, you have this resistance towards being rejected. What I would say to you is run towards rejection like your life depends on it. Yeah, because if you've already made peace with the perceived worst case scenario, I start to feel bulletproof. I'll give you a really concrete example. In 2023, I think it was, I got denied entry into the United States. And that was a traumatic period in my life. So I was supposed to go over to Las Vegas for a month and I got denied entry. And effectively, I got taken into this interrogation room. My fingerprints got taken. I was questioned. I basically got banned from the ESTA program. I've actually got a video on my channel. It's titled something along the lines of "I got banned from the United States." Lol. So you can watch that video. But since that moment, I've had this weird traumatic relationship when it comes to going through airports. And whenever I go to airports now, in the back of my mind, I'm always worried that I'm going to get flung into a detention center. And I can't remember what it was, a couple of months back. Now, it must have been about 6 months ago when I was going back to Thailand, back to Bangkok. I got pulled aside and I got put into another one of these interrogation rooms because I just wanted to know like why I was frequently visiting the country. Nothing crazy, but I remember before I got to the security gate, I was super stressed out. I had this strong fear in my mind, like, oh, what if I get pulled aside? What if they don't let me in? What if I get put into this detention center again? You know, like what if? And because I was radiating so much fear, because I was attaching so much importance to not getting in, the worst case scenario actually happened. I almost attracted it. So this time around, when I came back to Thailand, rather than stressing, rather than worrying about it, I already made peace with not being allowed into the country. So I'd already dealt with the worst case scenario ahead of time. So this time when I came through, I didn't have any stress anymore. I was completely fine. I was relaxed and I got through easy. It was fine. So, point being, if you can already experience the failure in advance and you're okay with whatever happens, again, throw me in hell, I'll find a way to enjoy it, then you become bulletproof. That's what I've found anyway. Because usually what we resist persists. So if you've got this strong fear at the moment of being rejected by women in a cold approach setting, my mindset that I would install into you is, dude, don't go out to get phone numbers. Go out today with the mindset of being rejected. Make a game out of it. See if you can get the worst rejection possible. There's actually a really good book that I read a long time ago. I think it's called The Wisdom of Psychopaths. Really great piece of literature. And there was this game that these guys played when they went on a night out. And whoever could get the most fierce rejection on a night out, all the other guys had to buy him drinks the next time round. But what typically happened on these crazy nights out was when the guys were going out with the mindset to get the most brutal rejection, they would clean up that night. They would go home with the hottest women because they weren't attaching importance or ego or sense of self-worth to the result anymore. They were more so falling in love with the perceived worst case scenario and making a game of it. So whatever you're worried about right now, whatever you feel as though you're allocating too many fucks to, a really great mental reframe that's always helped me is decide what the worst case scenario is, fall in love with that by experiencing it in advance. And then once you've done that, in my experience, it doesn't carry as much emotional weight because you're not trying to resist it anymore. I really hope that makes sense. I think it makes sense. Another thing that I do as well is put myself into environments where I would call them ZFG environments or zero fucks given, where you come out of these environments and you're riding on what I call godly frequency. So today I went to the martial arts gym, so absolutely brutal martial art gym. And I was surrounded by, absolute savages, guys who were pushing themselves to their limits, actually, just getting to that point where they're exhausted with accomplishment. And I find that being in that hyper masculine environment where people are sparring, people are pushing themselves to their limits, after 90 minutes of intense physical exercise, I'm riding on what I call godly frequency. Because I don't know about you, but at the start of the day, I'm not really feeling it. Usually I wake up in the mornings and I've got these self-limiting beliefs rushing through my mind. It's because I guess I've spent 9 hours being completely comatose. It's like my lower self when I wake up is fighting against me. Oh, marinate in the comfort quicksand of complacency. So, sometimes when I wake up in the morning, because I understand I've got a mountain of things to get done, like a lot of times my mind just wants to play it safe. Oh, come back into the cave. It's nice, it's cozy, it's warm here. But by pushing myself, by putting myself in the environment like the Muay Thai gym where I get pushed to my limits, and after the Muay Thai gym, I typically go to the sauna and then get into an ice bath. Like once I'm in that state of godly frequency, I've been in this hyper masculine environment, guys who are pushing themselves to their limits, then I almost have this like cloak of invincibility washing over me where I feel as though if you want to stop giving a fuck, then in my experience, it's doing things or dive bombing into discomfort as often as possible so you can connect with your higher self. Because I think a lot of times we have this thought that it's us versus us, but really I think it's us versus our lower self. And this is a game of identity. That's the way that I see it. It's not necessarily chasing a goal, it's chasing an identity. So, how do you become the version of yourself who simply doesn't give a fuck about things anymore? And it's not saying that you stop caring. For me, it just means that you stop obsessing. And I found that action is the best way to overcome all the bullshit that our mind tries to feed us. We've got one of the guys in my private WhatsApp group at the moment who is making a video in public every single day. So he's posting daily onto Instagram, and it's videos of him outside in public. So one of the mindsets that I install into my clients is don't avoid the spotlight, invite the spotlight, and then embrace the spotlight. I don't necessarily think people have got a fear of approaching women. I think it's more so we just have a fear of approaching people in general, right? Whenever you go to strike up a conversation with a stranger, usually there's always this little slither of uncertainty there. Like, oh, how's this going to go? I wonder if the person likes me. I wonder if I stumble over my words and look like an absolute knob. I think that fear of failure really does paralyze us. But if you can make a practice or make a daily habit out of pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone, i.e., making daily videos of yourself out in public, or even setting yourself a daily cold approach challenge where you aim to approach 3 women every single day for the next 30 days, I do believe we become what we practice. So if you're only approaching 1 to 2 women every single week, if you're not really doing anything apart from going to the work and maybe going to the gym, I think the more you can invite the social spotlight onto yourself, the more free that you start to feel. This is why I recommend, if you're not doing so already, as well as going out there and cold approaching, go to something like improv classes, because what improv will do is that it will teach you how to lose. I think one of the biggest fears for guys is looking like a tit in public, right? Public humiliation, embarrassing yourself in front of your peers or in front of people who don't know you. And a lot of it is not your fault either. And the reason is, when we existed in tribes of around 150 people, if we embarrassed ourselves in front of the tribe, it didn't just mean embarrassment. Sometimes it could mean exile, like it could mean ostracization. Like if you were to approach a woman in the caveman days and she said no thank you, it would have meant your DNA wasn't worthy of replication. And we've carried that primitive programming into the modern day. So if you're going outside right now and you do feel anxious, you do feel apprehensive, you do feel as though you've got the spotlight onto you, that's okay. That's completely normal. It's just primitive programming or outdated programming, which is still circulating your system. So what I found to work really well for guys, if you do feel as though, oh, I really do care, I am giving a lot of fucks right now, just start off small, baby steps. It could be walking outside today and making eye contact with beautiful women as they walk past you. It might not even be approaching them today. It might just be making eye contact, or it might be smiling at them, saying hello, asking a few people, how's your day going? Really, this is not some overnight fix or magic bullet solution. This is allowing you step by step into becoming the most authentic version of yourself. Because the good news for you is everything you need to live an incredible dating life, you've already got it, right? It's just buried beneath bullshit. It's buried beneath layers of compliance and conformity and worry about what other people think of you. So everything you need is already there. And really, this is not a game about learning anything new. It's unlearning. This is really the thesis of my dating philosophy. I think the majority of men's dating advice online is horseshit because it focuses on the wrong things. It focuses on telling men to become more attractive without asking the only question which actually matters: attractive to who? Okay, because most dating advice, it will tell you, oh, bench more weight, make more money, get your eyebrows threaded. But really the focus of what I do is removing the unnecessary. It's removing the bullshit, because once you start to remove everything that isn't you and all that's left is your most authentic self, that's when your dating strategy isn't one of attraction, it's one of repulsion. So you attract your people, but you repel the rest. So if everybody likes you, if you are vanilla, if people are like, oh yeah, John, he's such a nice guy, then you're not polarizing, right? Polarization is profitable. By the way, I've written up a beautiful, it's a beautiful document, I must say. I've written up a full document. So if you're somebody who likes to, if you're somebody who likes to read, I've actually put my entire system into a easily digestible. It's kind of like a website, I guess, or maybe it's a blog. We'll call it a blog. So if you want to essentially access my entire anti-game artistry system, then the first link below this video, you'll be able to read. You can read it. So I put together, we'll call it a blog. So this is the same system that guys pay me thousands of dollars to help them implement, and you can see exactly how it works completely free by clicking the first link below this video. So if you're curious about how my coaching works, how anti-game artistry works, if you're watching my content thinking, okay, I kind of like this guy, I understand what he's saying, I should have a dating strategy based around repulsion, not around attraction, then link below this video, you'll be able to learn more about my system, how it's helped over 200 guys, and why, in my opinion, most dating advice is keeping you stuck. Another thing you can do to stop giving a fuck is intermittent fasting. So what I found, because I stay fasted for about 24 hours now, as soon as I eat food, I actually start to care more. It's kind of weird, but I stay fasted for 24 hours. So I train fasted, I work fasted, I wank fasted, and I found that it gives me more of this mental clarity. I think it's got something to do with, I guess, if we were fasted back in the caveman days, it would have allowed our mental clarity to be more alert in case we saw opportunities for food. Like, oh, there's an elk. I better go hunt that motherfucker. Some people say, oh yeah, but if I don't eat for 6 hours, I get lightheaded. I get dizzy. It's like, motherfucker, start your first world problems. You're fine. You can do it. I actually cold approach fasted. I coach fasted as well. Whenever I cold approach and I'm doing big sessions, let's say I'm approaching 30 women in the space of 3 hours, I find that I don't have as fluid a conversation if I've got food inside of me. So it might be something that you can experiment with, because if you're going out and you've had a big meal, right? If you've had a big meal, then you're probably not as socially loose. You're probably not as coherent as you could be. You might have some mental fogginess. Now, look, I'm not a dietitian. Do what the fuck you want. It's your life. But I find being in a fasted state allows me to not get tangled into my own bullshit, if that makes sense. But I find as well, when guys do work with me, especially the guys who work with me one-on-one, developing a ZFG mindset via osmosis is beautiful, because I think one of the big reasons why guys decide to work with me, especially the guys who work with me one-on-one in person, they soak up my approach to life, and it's beautiful. Because I think if you're somebody at the moment and maybe you're spending time in your corporate work environment where you don't really like the people, the philosophies that they share, everything just feels a bit like kissing each other's asses, you don't feel socially free in your everyday life. That does spill over into your cold approach conversations as well. But when guys spend time with me, they realize, fuck me, he really doesn't care. I talk loud. I remember I was coaching a guy in London once. This was many, many years ago. And we were walking through the streets of London. I was giving him feedback on his cold approach conversation. Like, dude, at the moment, you just sound gay. You sound like a closet heterosexual. The next girl you walk over to, just say, you look incredible. Like, nothing held back. And then I swivel round and the guy's disappeared. I'm thinking, where's Henry gone? I look down, he's tying his shoelace. I'm like, yo, Henry, like, what's going on, bro? He's like, oh, dude, like, I just had to take a moment. You were talking very loud there, so I've just decided to pretend to tie my shoelace to give myself a breather. I'm like, dude, Henry, right? I'm saying this because I love you. The reason why you're failing in dating right now is because you care too much, right? Because when you do become socially free and you become, let's say, your own mental point of origin and you're living for an audience of one, because this is the way that I view my life. I'm a believer in what I call solipsism. It's the belief that only the self is real and everybody else is an NPC or non-playable character. Let's call it main character mode. But you don't need to believe in this perpetually. But I've always found a great mindset to install into yourself when you are going out there and cold approaching is just imagine that nobody else is real. Just imagine that you are the only sentient being on the planet, and every person who you activate, they are becoming part of your reality right now. Because I think something that a lot of us struggle with, especially the successful guys who I work with, is you lack this level of narcissism. You lack this level of justified arrogance. Because if you think right now about, like, look at all the things you've achieved in your life. Look at the money that you've made. Look at the reputation that you've built. Look at how you've climbed the ladder in your career. Like, I think not enough of us give ourselves credit and praise for the things that we've achieved. And when you are walking over to a woman, you're almost downplaying your achievements. You almost don't see yourself as the world sees you. It's like your internal hasn't caught up with your external. You still see yourself as the ugly duckling on the inside. And really, a big part of what I do for my clients is I just install this godlike belief into them, right? If you go back and watch the oldest videos on my channel, back when I was a turnip basement dwelling porn addict, what I had in bucket loads back then was what I call delusional optimism, okay? Because nobody else is coming to save you. Nobody else is going to believe in you more than you need to believe in yourself. So all I had back then was delusional optimism, right? I was getting comments on the regular from people saying, "You're ugly. You're a 4 out of 10 at best. You look physically disadvantaged. Why are you wasting these girls' time? Oh, who do you think you are? You're trying to become a coach in cold approach. Oh, cool story, bro. Good luck with that one." But like, if you can actually see the trajectory that I started with, like zero money, zero skills, zero idea what I was actually doing, I just had this delusional optimism that with enough time, with enough reps, I could become the best in the world at what I do, right? Because your thoughts are incredibly powerful. If you have you ever heard of the incantation abracadabra? It basically translates into as I speak, so I create. Okay, because if you understand that all we really are is repeated patterns of thoughts and behavior that we've accepted over time as our identity. And we then solidify this identity through the language that we use. So you might say to yourself right now, "Oh, I suck with women. I'm ugly. I'm an introvert. I can't attract women because I'm bald or because I'm short or because I'm XYZ." And it's like Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right either way, right? So really what I do for my guys through osmosis, through the time that we spend together, is I just give them this delusional, optimistic belief that whatever they set their mind to, they can achieve it. And I know it fucking works now because I've taught my system to over 200 men and the results speak for themselves. Just go on to Christian Casanova testimonials on YouTube. You can listen to guys who work with me. Also, click the link underneath this video. That'll take you to my anti-gay artistry document where, again, you can see testimonials of guys who've actually worked with me. So, I'm not talking out my fucking ass. But I think in terms of not giving a fuck, there's a really great book. Not a lot of people will read it because it's quite a meaty text. Reality Transurfing. I found Reality Transurfing. I remember I first came across this book. I was in Lisbon at the time, and I just made a decent amount of money. I made about $20,000. And on my payment processor, they wouldn't let me access the money. Fuck knows. I think they might have thought I was a fucking drug dealer. So they were withholding my funds. And it was a pain in the ass because I wanted to take that money and invest it into a business mentor to help me scale further, which eventually I did. That was awesome. So I was in this limbo period where I had about $20,000 that I couldn't access. And I was getting really stressed. I was getting really angry. I felt all of these emotions bubbling up inside me. And then I started reading Reality Transurfing. And really, the premise of this book is decreasing the amount of importance that we attach onto things. So it talks about these mental constructs called pendulums. And essentially, a pendulum is anything which sucks your attention. So maybe Manchester United, maybe the news, maybe a girl who's not texting you back. All of these things are pendulums. So they are taking your attention away, and usually they're putting you into a low frequency state because you're attaching way too much importance to them. So when you start to decrease the importance of an event or an outcome, remember, the way we do this is by falling in love with the worst case scenario. So let's say you've met a girl from Cold Approach and you've messaged her and she's not messaged you back. The more important you attach onto this girl, the more you'll feel your frequency, your emotional state start to drop. So the best thing that you can do for yourself is already have accepted ahead of time that you're never going to hear from her again, already mourned the death of that connection ahead of time. This is how you develop a ZFG mindset. It's really the mindset of I want this, but I don't need it. No matter what happens, I'll be okay. Throw me in hell, I'll find a way to enjoy it. So one thing that I useful for myself, and it might be different for me because I'm obviously a coach in this space, but an exercise that I get certain clients to do, let's say you become more advanced when it comes to daytime call approach right now. So you can get numbers, you can get dates, you can get happy endings, but you feel as though you've hit a bit of a plateau. What I would suggest to you to help you develop more of the ZFG or super abundance mindset is go out one day this week, approach the hottest women who you can find, get their phone numbers, and then delete the phone numbers as soon as you get them. Now, this might sound stupid. This might sound like, why would I do that? Because what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to develop a super abundant mindset, right? Because the person who has the most cares the least, and he who is most prepared to walk away has all the power. Seduction is sales at the end of the day. So what I've been doing for the past 5 years is as soon as I get phone numbers from the girls on camera, I just delete them. Why? Because it allows me to develop this super abundant mindset that I'm not attaching my sense of self-worth to a phone number or to one individual woman. Okay, so what I would suggest for you, if you have got more advanced with cold approach, just have a day where you delete every single phone number that you collect, and the abundance that that will give you. It's almost like a guy who is completely starving putting a gargantuan buffet in front of him, and he just says, you know what, I'm all right. Like that, it takes a certain individual to be able to do that. But I guarantee, if you're able to do that, if you're essentially able to turn away the feast, it will put you into this ultra abundant headspace, and it's just a beautiful place to be. So that's a really great exercise that you can experiment with. I think it's quite a lot of things I've spoke about there. Hopefully that's useful. I sound like Santa Claus then. Hopefully this has been useful so far. If you are enjoying it, drop it a like. I appreciate these live streams are not the most coherent, but do you know what? I feel as though live stream content is beautiful, especially in the modern day where everybody can put a script through ChatGPT and sound like a fucking expert, or you don't even know what's real and what's fake anymore. So I find watching me in my natural form, almost like a Bulbasaur before it's evolved, I think there's something quite authentic about that. I don't know. Maybe I know nothing. Fuck knows. The more I learn, the less I know. But in terms of overcoming this fear of public judgment, what other people think of you, how to actually take a sledgehammer to your social anxieties, one more thing that I would say to you is more things need to go wrong in your life. Yeah. Because when I look back at my life, I remember I did I did two solo skydives at 18 years old. And whenever I'm in a point in my life where I am attaching too much importance to things, or I am just caring too much, or I'm being bombarded by my own bullshit, I look back when I was 18 years old, sat on the edge of a plane, and this Scottish bloke behind me just said, jump. Like, I actually did that. And that was a crazy thing at that point. It really allowed me to embrace my own mortality, really stare death in the face. And I'm not saying you need to do a solo skydive, but I remember the second solo skydive that I did, I jumped out the plane and then my parachute got tangled, right? This was one of those perceived worst case. It wasn't really a perceived worst case scenario. It was probably worst case scenario. But because I did the training, I actually really respect my 18-year-old self because I was pretty clueless at most things. But I maintained my composure. I followed the training. I did a little swivel. The parachute deployed, and everything was okay. I stared down at the beautiful greenery of the Lake District. It looks like there was two cows mating down there. And I thought, you know what, Christian, fair fucking play. Something went wrong. Throw me in hell. I'll find a way to enjoy it. I remember when I was over in Rio de Janeiro, everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. My phone got broke, or my phone broke. All my bank cards got cancelled. I got threatened to get kicked out my Airbnb. I became violently sick. I was just spewing my guts out. And you know, going through these moments in life, or when I got denied entry into the United States, and all the women who've rejected me, like all of the, I really think the way to develop this ZFG mindset is just putting yourself in situations that make you feel so viciously uncomfortable that they allow you to step into bigger shoes. Yeah. Because I think a lot of it kind of comes down to just not trusting ourselves. Yeah, that's what I found to be true with guys. When it comes to cold approach or training martial arts or even making content online, yeah, there is a fear of public disapproval or public judgment, but I think deeper than that, it's a lack of faith in our own capabilities to actually handle whatever life throws our way. And this is why I will forever be a champion of daytime cold approach, because I really do see it as a modern day rite of passage. For me, it is the most aggressive form of self development on the planet. I've done a lot of fucking things right now. I've done a lot of things, but daytime cold approach, really forging a new identity through the fires of adversity, it's one of the most beautiful processes that I've ever been a part of. And now it's my job. Now I get to allow other guys to initiate themselves through this process, meet wife worthy women, live rock star dating lives. But deeper than that, it's becoming the version of themselves that they've always wanted to be, but been too scared to become. So if you've enjoyed this Casanovian expostulation, click the first link below this video. You can access my full system completely free. I'll walk you through how the system works, who it's already worked for, and maybe if it can work for you as well. There's no magic bullet. There's no guarantee. It's not a quick fix solution. I traditionally work with my clients for at least 1 year because there's so many different things that we need to uncover, so many different avenues we need to walk around, that it's really beautiful long-term process. So yeah, if you're looking to get laid in a weekend, if you're looking for some magic bullet, I'm definitely not the guy for you. Go find some other charlatan online who can, sell you some fucking whatever it is, weekend boot camp. I don't know what it is, group coaching, fuck knows. But yeah, click the link below. You can look at my beautiful document that's been written up very poetically. And yeah, I'm doing a live stream every single day of the year. So if you've got any questions you'd like to ask me, DM me on Instagram at Christian Casanova Dating. At Christian Casanova Dating on Instagram. DM me if you've got a question you'd like me to ask. Otherwise, I'm just going to be riffing. I ain't got a brand new combine harvester. Anyway, love you. Bye.